Howdy folks, this is Mojave Black Powder and I will be discussing and reviewing this first of my percussion pistols that I own. This is an 1851 Pietta clone, and it is actually brass framed, so it will replicate the Griswold and Gunnison Confederate pistol. It's actually based off that, and the name of this pistol is the Pietta 1851 Reb Nord Navy, because it is a 44 caliber, which you can tell by the stepped cylinder here. 6-shot standard, 44 caliber. Manual recommends that you use up to 25 grains of powder or equivalent of Pyrex by volume. I personally prefer using a mild 18 to 20 grain load on this pistol, just so that I don't wear out the brass frame as quickly. That's kind of the downside of this pistol. Is as much as I love it, the brass frame is eventually going to wear out. It's going to be too stretched or worn to use, and at that point it will probably become a wall hanger or something to decorate the living room with. So, as stated earlier, this is actually an 1851 Colt clone copy, which is kind of anachronistic because the original Griswold and Gunnisons were actually based off of the Colt's Dragoon instead of the 1851 Navy. In this case, it's not a 1-to-1 reproduction because the Griswold and Gunnisons, the originals, had quite a bit further swept back handle on their pistol, and that was kind of what made them unique. This one, I've noticed, if you only put it to half cock, it does have, in the half cock position, you can see, and I'll throw in photos of all these different features you can't see on the camera for your convenience. A notch in the hammer for a safety. The problem is, on the cylinder there are no safety notches, so you will have to store this with 5 rounds or carry it with 5 rounds. Okay, so why did I pick this up? Well, for one, this is, as a 44 caliber with a smaller chamber than even a Dragoon or a Walker, 25 grains of black powder or Pyrex is not exactly a heavy load, and it's not exactly an expensive load to shoot, versus something like the Colt Walker, which can take up to 60 grains, which is actually quite a hefty load and can burn through a whole pound of powder fairly quickly because it's a rifle load equivalent. Also, I found this in my local gun shop on sale for about $200, and I snatched it up because it is called the Deluxe Edition. What that means, and I'll show you in a picture about here, is it is extremely highly engraved. It's got case hardened hammer and loading lever, actual wood grips, which are fairly nice, not the best. And to me, it seems the quality control is just a little bit higher because it's a higher end style of pistol. The grip panels seem to fit a bit better. You can actually see, and I'll include these photos, that there are some odd defects, such as here on the back of the butt. It seems someone took a grinding wheel a little too close when polishing, and it kind of created a slanted surface that causes the grip to bite into the heel of your hand while shooting. But the timing on it is actually almost perfect. If you put it at half cock, it allows the cylinder to spin freely, and then when you just full cock it, no problem. I have not encountered any drag on the front of the cylinder, no out of time systems, which issues with timing seems to be fairly common with the Pietta revolvers. The only issue I've had with this one, because from what I can tell, this is a, if I remember correctly, a early 2000s product. The wedge here used to keep the barrel on, the locking key, was very stuck and hard to get out, so much so that I actually couldn't open the gun up and look to see its condition in the gun shop the day I bought it. But the guy I know, who is an employee in the shop, name of Dave, thanks by the way for that, he's the original owner of this pistol. He used them as wall hangers. From what he said, he had never shot these pistols, never done anything with them. They just hung up on his wall, so I took his word for it since I couldn't look down the barrel. Shelled out the $200, brought it home, and sure enough, when I actually removed the wedge pin, I'll again throw in pictures here. When I removed the wedge that's holding this to the center axis pin, the barrel was a little smudged up, like someone had spritzed ballast all down the barrel with dust. Otherwise, it was pristine. It was a mirror inside of that barrel, and it just needs some cleaning. Other than that, condition-wise, it was perfectly fine when I picked it up because, like I said, he had never shot it. He just kept it as a wall hanger. And I think the only other thing I found aside from the wedge being stuck when I took it apart the first time was that the brass frame had gotten a couple of spots of tarnish because this had just been a wall hanger gun and a little bit of moisture had gotten in behind the cylinder. Otherwise, there was basically no rust on this pistol. There was no issues for condition. The quality control seems to be much higher than other Piettas I have seen, with the only real fault I can find being that little spot on the butt. But otherwise, like I said, the action is just crisp as can be. It's a little bit heavy, but that's kind of to be expected given it's a new gun. The only reason they couldn't sell it as new at the gun shop was because he had hung it on his wall and taken it out of the box. So how does it shoot? Well, to be honest, at 25 yards, I'm not the best shot with a black powder revolver. Never have been, never will be. I'm good enough to get maybe a pie plate size group at 25 yards with one of these, but otherwise, when in the hands of my friend, he was just able to stack them one on top of another. And again, that's one of those things where people kind of worry with Piettas is accuracy-wise because the rifling doesn't have the best reputation from what I understand. So, basically, for the price, I couldn't really pass this up. I doubt you're going to be able to find one just like it because these were discontinued quite a while ago. Cabela still sells an 1851 Rebel model, and while it's not engraved like this one, it does still do the job. Personally, I like it as a wall hanger, and I like it because it represents a spot in the collection I have that is not currently taken up by any others, that being a Confederate pistol. I have to wait to find a LeMat reproduction because they're very few and far between and usually very limited production. Similar to these, actually. And I think the biggest problem I have with this is it isn't a super accurate reproduction of the Griswold & Gunnison like it claims to be by the namesake. So, first off, I don't think, I could be wrong on this, but I don't think the Griswold & Gunnison was ever actually a 44 caliber pistol. Because it used twist iron cylinders, I think it was only a 36 caliber pistol. On top of that, it was brass framed, but what Pietta did here, and you'll see this in other reviews of it, it seems they just took the usual brass frame of the 1851 they have on their lower end models and just called it a Griswold & Gunnison by merit of it being 44 caliber. That's about all I can think, because if you look at this side by side by a 1851 steel frame or an 1851 brass frame, it looks virtually the same. What made the Griswold & Gunnison stand out was the fact that the grip was very much angled backward like an old dueling pistol. And this one, it's just very much similar to a 1851 Colt Navy revolver, the modern reproduction that we have. So much so that on Hell on Wheels, Anson Mount actually carries what I believe is a Pietta Reb revolver similar to this one, and it's just an 1851 44 caliber, which is anachronistic and is one of the things that the show Hell on Wheels got a lot of flack for. So, could I recommend buying this if you find it at a decent price, especially with the engraving? I'd say definitely so, because even if you don't want to shoot these like I do, this is still a great wall hanger just because you've got this brilliant engraving. It's a functional piece as well as a artful one. Is it a good deal for $200? I can't say. For $300, I'm not sure. But if you can score it for decent, and like this one, it was just someone's wall hanger, it's never been shot, I'd say give it a chance, pick it up. If you don't, you probably won't regret it because of the brass frame, but I'd still say it's worth the shot, no pun intended. Alright folks, until next time, thank you for watching, and remember, keep the powder dry and those flags raised. No surrender and no retreat. Till next time.